What's up, guys? I'm Des. This is Chris. This is Ryan. And welcome to The Up.
This is my perfect victory! That's right!
So, we're going to kind of pivot into our NFL draft segment quickly. I think I'm going to start out with the big old question of which team needs this draft the most?
Um, who needs this draft the most? Well, I mean, you could immediately look at a few teams. Cleveland desperately needs to find the piece that's going to help them on the offensive side of the ball. They have a great defense. We've seen it, over the past few seasons. One of the better defenses in the NFL that struggles because their offense is so poor that they cannot help that defense can remain successful and keep themselves off the field long enough to keep momentum and to continue to play at their best level. So I think Cleveland's a team that you look at right off the bat. Obviously, the Raiders are trying to transcend their franchise. I mean, they're trying to make their franchise pick for the next decade right there at number one. And they believe that Mendoza, a guy who had just had one of the best seasons we've seen from a leader, I believe, in college football, they're hoping that he can change that culture and bring in a new just style of football and winning formula to that franchise. So I believe you're looking at the poor teams, the teams that are down at the bottom every year. The Jets are trying to make a pick that changes the culture and changes the momentum of their franchise, as well as the Raiders and the Browns. So those three teams. Another big pick that we can kind of look at for a team is the Cardinals. Cardinals are trying to right the ship, trying to get back on track. They have to decide what kind of identity they're going to have moving forward with no Kyler Murray, and just see what they're going to do, how they're going to win football games. So I'm looking at those teams. The last team that I'll mention are the two former AFC foes, which is Kansas City and Cincinnati. They have very important picks at the end of the top 10, which will be interesting to see if they trade out of that or if they make a huge splash if a player falls to them. So we'll see what they do. Those teams are trying to get back onto the end of the winner's circle, and then those top 5 teams are trying to figure out what their identity is going to be for the next decade with these picks. So those would be the teams that I would look at for who's trying to change their culture and change their franchise.
I agree. I think those are some really good points. And I think those poor teams always, you look year to year, you're expecting, your top 10 pick in the draft. You need something to get your franchise out of that constant little cycle of losing, always being that top 10 pick. And as of now, they haven't really done a great job of doing that, obviously, because we see them in the top 10 time after time. But, maybe it takes one draft. It really does take one draft sometimes. Ryan, what's your thoughts?
You hit the nail on the head with the hammer. But yeah. So I love the Raiders take. I think the Raiders are going to need this draft more than anybody. This is one of those you can't miss this. Obviously, you're going to probably take Mendoza 1. Me personally, I'm not big on Mendoza, but that's a pick you have to make as having number 1. I think a sleeper team that we haven't really thought about that probably needs this draft is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. You obviously have Christian McCaffrey. You have Brock Purdy. I'm also big on Brock Purdy. I believe in him. But he has kind of stepped down a little bit since he's lost a lot of weapons at that wide receiver position. So it'll be interesting to see where they go, whether they go defense or offense. But I think that team needs to help Brock Purdy out a little bit more. Obviously, you have Christian McCaffrey, but when you have a running back that leads your team in receptions, it's not a recipe for winning. So that's one of my teams I believe should really capitalize on this draft.
That's fair. I think a team for me who I think the word need sounds kind of weird in this context, but I do think the Chiefs need a home run in this draft because they're a championship caliber team. And they had an off year. Mahomes is hurt, this and that. They have the pieces. they have the formula, they have the coaching, they have the experience. Bringing in a top 10 pick who is ready to play now, or at least ready to play by game 3, and contribute greatly to that team could be that little connector to light that ignition and just get them right back to where they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4, and kind of cap off that dynasty before they all kind of age out and whatnot.
Kansas City's gonna take Jeremiah Love, and they're gonna continue to run through the AFC.
But they got Kenneth Walker.
The more the merrier.
Yeah,
I don't think Jeremiah Love goes past the Titans. I really don't.
Well, this is what
that is true. That would be a good pick for the Titans.
It's but I was talking to this with Dez a little while ago. It's really, really hard to convince yourself that a running back is worth
that. Yep. I agree.
Because a running back is so easily replaceable. I mean, we see success from running backs that weren't drafted very high at that position. Now, granted, we see success from guys who were drafted high. I mean, you have Jahmyr Gibbs was a first-round pick, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley. I think you're looking at, who else am I missing? Derrick Henry was second round. Jonathan Taylor may have been a second round as well.
I want to say he was a second round.
AMC was a first-round pick, right? Yeah. We know he was top 10. But, I mean, overall, you don't need a top 10 overall running back to go.
No, there are definitely guys later in that draft. Yeah, and I think running backs got some solid depth.
Although I love Jeremiah Love, I think he's a very, very fantastic football player, but I don't think an elite running back is what's going to put a team over the top and what's going to help them most in getting to where they're trying to get to. I think, as we can see, the Atlanta Falcons selected Bijan. Bijan's been fantastic for Atlanta, but that hasn't led to them going to the playoffs. It hasn't taken them to the playoffs. While he is a fantastic player, while he does do great things on the football field, just him being fantastic isn't what's going to take Atlanta to the playoffs. That's not that important of a position to get the job done. Now, granted, it helps to have a player that successful at that position, but that's not what's going to lead you to Super Bowl wins.
I think I have to agree with that. I do think a first-round running back should not be a franchise changer, but rather a cherry on the top. So a team like the Chiefs, if they needed a running back, I think that'd be a phenomenal steal/pick because that's the cherry on the top of a team that has been built correctly.
Yes.
Him going to the Titans, I think he still will go to the Titans, and he'll do well on the Titans. It's not a cherry on the top.
No, that's not going to help that team.
It's not.
That's not going to take them to a different level than they were last year. It'll make them a little bit better, a little bit scary.
It'll take a lot of pressure off of Cam Ward, though, I'll tell you that.
It won't take pressure off of him, though, if there's no lanes for Jeremiah Love to run in. You can be a great running back all you want, but if you have no lanes to run through, then you're not going to help the offense. I mean, your running back is only as good as your offensive line. Ultimately, that's what you're dealing with. And if your offensive line doesn't meet the standard of the other caliber offensive lines or defensive lines that you see in the NFL, then they're not going to be successful. And it's not going to say it's a waste of a pick, but ultimately it feels like one. And that's not something that you want to rely on to change the course of your franchise. And I think we see it all the time happen. I don't know. I wouldn't pick him in the top 10. Not to say that he's not a top 10 what I should say, caliber player. I think he's, a top 10 player in the draft, but I don't think because of the position he plays, he's not worthy of a top 10 pick.
I definitely get that. I would have to agree. I think most teams in the top 10, you should be looking at running back. But thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on all platforms. We got much more coming. As always, we'll catch you on the up.